thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining this evening. This is a Teaching Wales specific webinar, so we'll be going over different things on sort of the life in Wales, what you'll need to be able to get over there with the compliance side of things, the opportunities as well. So it'd be really nice just to dissect that. If you have any questions at all throughout the webinar, just pop them into the chat, and we're more than happy to sort of answer them as we go along as well. So yeah, Ainsley, if you want to start it off.
Yeah, sure. So before we kick off this evening's meeting, we'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. So we respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands, the Gadigal people of the Aurora Nation on which we are meeting today. We recognise their continuing connection to the lands, waters and skies. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that to respect to all First Nations people present today.
So as you can see there's the three of us at ANZ UK online today. So we've got my colleague Ainsley, who's based here in Sydney with myself. So we're both UK recruitment consultants, so we're helping educators move over to the UK. Myself, Chris, and also my colleague Shannon, who is currently in Wales, who will be going into a lot more detail about life in Wales. So you'll be able to hear it from the sort of horse's mouth, so to speak. So what we'll be covering, as I mentioned, we'll be covering a lot of different things, sort of the introduction to who we are, why move over to sort of the UK and Wales, what the process will look like, when the best time to arrive is. So we'll go through the calendar, the sort of school year is a little bit different how it is set up in Australia. You will be looking at sort of the visa requirements, locations, the different work opportunities, the relocation bonuses that we offer as well. The compliance, as well as sort of setting up life in the UK, and then different groups that we have that will be able to sort of help you with as well.
Okay, perfect. So just a little bit about ANZ UK. We are a global company who have been operating for 20 years. As you can see from this lovely little map, we have 29 offices across the globe. So we have 2 offices in New Zealand, 9 located in Australia, and then we have 5 offices in the UK. So with the London team, they cover, all of the 4 zones. And then we have Bristol, Surrey, Southampton, and then we have Newport, Wales, and regional Wales as well. So ANZ UK offers the 360 support for when you're planning to, either live or teach abroad, or if you're wanting to teach in Australia as well. Cool. So why teach and travel with ANZ UK? So choosing to live and teach abroad can come with an array of emotions, from excitement to anticipation to, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And obviously a lot of stress. It is a big move. And we recognize that at ANZ UK. So we want to offer support every step of the way in your journey abroad, and trying to make that transition as smooth as possible for you. So with that, we do offer support across the globe. So you'll have a consultant here in Australia, which is nice when it comes to the time zones. And then you'll also have support from someone in the UK as well. So you'll have 2 consultants supporting you throughout the process. We also offer a visa service. Applying for visas, there's a lot to it. So to help you with that, we have a visa support service. They will lodge your application for you and answer any questions you may have when it comes to the visa. We hold events and info sessions. So we host regular social gatherings before you leave for the UK and whilst you're in the UK as well. We have a ready to work app, so that will be something that you'll be using once in the UK. It's really user friendly and it's a great way for you to extend on your personal development as an educator, as well as update your availability and upload all of your certificates. And then, yeah, we also like partner with Contiki, so you can get some discounts on some travels. If you're into sport, we're affiliated with a lot of sporting teams, so AFL and netball as well. And then we host regular webinars and have lots of info sessions as well. And another great thing that we offer is a, step by step, like a little checklist for when you leave. If you're anything like me, I love a good list and I get a lot of satisfaction from crossing out things on a list. So we do offer that, as well as just other great webinars as well, like where to live and teach in the UK.
So our promise to yourselves, we go by these values here. So the Be Great values, this is something that is very much installed within our company across all aspects of it. So we go by these values and helping you sort of make the right decisions as well. These are all what you'll get from sort of the consultants. Is we really think that all of these points are extremely valuable, especially sort of building those relationships and helping you grow as educators. And then we offer exceptional experiences as well. So sort of creating those experiences for educators so that you can then help the students sort of live in those exceptional experiences as well. Not when we place one teacher. So you, for yourselves, you'll be going into a classroom. If you're sort of in primary, you'll be impacting 20, 30 students' life every day. And that's something that we sort of really pride our own educators on doing. If you're in secondary school, that could be sort of up to 50, 60 students a day. And that's something that educators that we do try and install and have pride in. And right educator, right place, right time. We really listen to the educators on how, where, and what they want from the sort of work life as well. So always have that open line of communication with ourselves and speak to us how you are finding the sort of the schools or the settings that you're in. Always have a chat with us, and we'll always help you with your work.
Okay, cool. So yeah, why teach abroad? I think the number one thing, and we've popped it in the front, is just for personal growth. It's an incredible, you know, challenge and experience living and teaching abroad. It's definitely a good way to step out of your comfort zone. It can be really hard, but it's, once you push through that part, it's really rewarding. And you get to, experience, the UK is a melting pot of multiculturalism. So it's a really great way to experience lots of different cultures just in the UK alone. And yeah, you get to experience living in a different country. Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity just, to really push yourself in your personal growth and with career development as well. So teaching in the UK is like regarded globally. You get to learn, different learning skills, how to teach differently as well. So really good for your career development, and it looks great on your resume when and if you do decide to come back to Australia or travel anywhere else in the world. And then, yeah, life experience, making friends from from around the world, lifelong friends, and then just like travel opportunities. You can, travel all of the UK. I know when I was in London, you catch a 30-minute plane ride to Berlin, just spend the weekend in Berlin. Who wouldn't love to do that? And yeah, we have a great educator community as well. So you'll get to meet like-minded people whilst teaching and living in the UK. Yeah, so steps to your journey in moving and abroad with us. So as I mentioned before, you'll have two consultants who will be supporting you through the process. So your initial contact with us will be a consultant here in Australia. So that might be Chris and I, who are located in Sydney, Or we also have Liv, who is located in Melbourne. And then we have the wonderful Claire, who's in New Zealand as well. You might not hear from her. But yeah, so our first initial contact will just be having a chat with you, chatting about your plans to head overseas. Have you sorted out your visa yet? Have you booked your flights? Do you know whereabouts you want to be located? And then we also chat about your experience as an educator as well, and obviously answer all the burning questions you have when it comes to moving and teaching abroad. What we'll then do is get you in contact with a consultant in the UK. They'll reach out to you to arrange a time to speak with you as well. Just go a bit in more depth when it comes to your teaching experience and what you're after for when you're moving to the UK. We also get you in touch with our compliance team. So they're amazing. They will go through all of the compliance with you that's required to teach in the UK, and they will support you throughout that process.
You'll then have a registration. So once you've got your flights booked and everything, you'll have a little online registration with maybe Shannon if you're heading over to Wales, and she'll also probably look to get you into the office as well as soon as you land to meet you face to face, add that sort of personal touch to it. The next stage after that would be then clearing for work, getting through all of that compliance side of things, make sure all the paperwork is all in order. And then finally, the one part that you're all excited for is being in the classroom. So after all that has happened, you'll be in the classroom, able to teach, supporting teachers, whatever the sort of preferences that you're heading over for. And then we have many social events as well that we'd like to bring all the educators together, and so you can meet people and like-minded people who have done an exact similar journey to yourself, and you don't feel like you're sort of left on your own. As someone who has moved from the other side of the world, it's always nice having those sort of home accents every now and then you can sort of hear in your sort of new location. And so the best time to show us. So this is how the school year looks in the UK. So this is next academic year. So starting in September 24 and ending in July 25. That's when the school year runs. Unlike the Australian sort of school year, the terms are broken up into about 7 weeks normally. So from sort of September, there'll be 7 weeks, and then you'll have a half term. Then you'll go back for the second half of the term, and then the term will end, and that's when you have your 2 weeks holiday, very similar to sort of the Australia side of things. And then that's how the breakup tends to be throughout the sort of the whole year. So as you can see, the autumn term is from the 2nd of September to the 25th of October. Christmas, you got the Christmas period over the 23rd of December to the 3rd of Jan. So if you're wanting to see out the academic year here in Australia and head over for sort of January in Wales, that's when you should look to get over for is as soon as this academic year ends. It's spending Christmas in a country where it is designed for a traditional Christmas is always very nice as well. I've been in Australia for 2 years myself and still can't get my head around a sunny Christmas. Still find it very strange, but it's always a fantastic opportunity to look at that different cultural change. And you've got the spring term from January then until the end of April. So if you're wanting to do sort of term one in Australia, you might want to look to head over Easter. And then the summer, obviously, if you're heading over there for the famous British summer, which you never know sort of what weather you're going to get all across it, then you might want to then start looking into the next academic year, which would then be September 2025.
Cool. Yeah, before I get into the visa requirements, I will second, spending Christmas in the UK is so magical, and you get to wear those amazing cheesy Christmas sweaters that you always see in the British movies. So yeah, definitely vouch for a Christmas in the UK. It's wonderful. Cool. Yeah. So with the visa requirements, there are a few options. So we have the Youth Mobility Scheme visa. So anyone who is 36 and under can apply for that. So it says here, like apply within, sort of 6 months before your intended arrival, because the processing time can take 3 to 10 weeks. As we mentioned before, we do have a visa support officer who can help you with that. So yeah, the Youth Mobility Scheme visa is for 2 years. You can apply for a third year at an additional cost. So with the Youth Mobility Visa, it's a bit of a mouthful. There's an application cost, which is £290. And then there is also a healthcare surge charge, which is £1,552. And then it is £776 per year. So that is just like their version of Medicare for you. So you're covered whilst you're over there. The total cost for this visa is £1,850. There is also the ancestry visa. So that is when you have one or more grandparents who were born in the UK, you can apply for that. And that visa is for 5 years, and that allows you to live and work in the UK. The application fee for that one is £637. And then you also have to pay for the NHS, which is the £1,035 per year as well. It is a little bit more expensive, but it does allow you to live and work in the UK for 5 years. We also have the skilled worker visa, which is a sponsorship. So that would be having a UK school sponsor you for generally a minimum of 2 years. So that would be a permanent role. And the subjects that are, in demand in the UK right now are for maths, science, and also Mandarin are on the subject shortlist. There's not currently any options for early childcare or support staff or primary educators at the moment. So then the other visa options is obviously you can, do the partner or spouse visa. And if you're lucky and have a golden ticket, you can get the UK passport.
Okay, so over to me to talk about all things Wales. So there's a couple of different types of locations when coming to Wales. So these are more two of kind of the more city life if you want to be more involved in and you're not so bothered about being in more kind of a rural area. So Newport, that's actually where our office is based. And to be honest, it's got loads to offer. So even if you again still want to have that little bit of a both, if you live just outside of Newport, it's still just as nice, and it's not quite in with the city. Anything sort of kind of depending on if you're looking for just like a room, or if you're looking for a flat, or if you're, they do house shares as well, and it's like a 1 to 2 bedroom if you want to do something different. It can kind of range, to be honest. Like at the moment, the cheapest seems to be with the guys that are over here. They've done like a house share. So even though obviously you are in the house with other people, there tends to be either like a bathroom within their room, or there's like multiple bathrooms, so you can't really notice as it's kind of a house share. Or if you obviously want a flat, then again, to have that little bit more privacy, it can be a little bit cheaper, and that's then a little bit more central in with Newport. Cost of living is not that expensive at all. I mean, if you obviously for like public transport, or even if you just want to kind of pop out, have some food and a drink and everything, it can kind of range for, if you have a pint of beer, if you obviously go into the right pubs, can be sort of kind of like £4 to £6. If you go into more kind of the markets, that's where it gets a little bit pricier. So the market is definitely a place to go to, but it's just obviously bear in mind it's a little bit more expensive. And then we've got Cardiff, that is definitely the capital city. If you want to be in with the sports, if you want to be in with music, if you want to be in with like the proper city life, so to speak, there's also got that history element to it as well, because it's got Cardiff Castle there. It's been standing for like over 2,000 years. It's still in really good condition. And you can obviously have that mix then. It is a little bit more expensive to stay within Cardiff. Most of the guys that have come over, they've done house shares, because to help keep the cost down, as opposed to obviously if you wanted to be in more of a kind of like a flat or anything like that. And again, to be honest, it's not that expensive if you want to go out on a, you know, sort of a night out, or just go into a local pub. So it's really great. And obviously going out for food. And then going on to sort of the next slide is just to obviously more of kind of what's classed as like the rural. So if it's completely outside of a city centre, but it's not that far to get back into the city centre, then if you want to kind of be involved in with, like I said, the sports, the history, the kind of the music side of things. And I've just put down like a couple by there. So we've got like Blaen y Gwent, Caerphilly and Bargoed. So these are all areas that we work with schools at the moment. And they definitely show you the beautiful side of Wales. If you're into hiking, coastal walks, kind of anything like that, it's definitely a good place to go. And again, it's that little bit cheaper to do like a house share. So whereas before it would be sort of kind of like £700, maybe a bit more for all in, it's more kind of like your £500, just because it's not quite in with our city life. And then when it's classed as like more like the regional location, so that's like outside of what's classed as rural. So you've got kind of like your Swansea, the Gower, and kind of all that way, which is again is a little bit cheaper than going into more of a city life. But you definitely still have like, you know, the beaches, and you can obviously stay in the Brecon Beacons, and there's just beautiful waterfalls and everything there. But again, easy to get to if you want to stay in the city and kind of travel. And obviously going out, whether it be like for food, local pubs or anything like that, again, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if you obviously work in the city. So just going on to sort of kind of like some top places to go and visit. So like I just mentioned then, the Brecon Beacons. When you first arrive, you think, oh my God, there's just so many hills to try and climb and everything, but it's absolutely worth it. The waterfalls there are amazing. You could spend a whole day there. It's just beautiful. And then like down below, you've got the Gower, which is like obviously over by like the Swansea area. It has the whitest and clearest beaches. It's absolutely amazing. It ranges from sort of kind of like your pebble beaches all the way through to, you know, your sand, your shell, and all those type of beaches, which is absolutely beautiful. Snowdonia is definitely one to do. A lot of people do like early morning like climbs to the top where you see the sunset, and you're that high, you're obviously above clouds, and it's absolutely amazing. And another one then for hiking is called the Pen y Fan. So that's really local as well to get to, and loads of people do it. It's definitely one to tick off your list. And then you've got Cardigan Bay underneath. And in that photo where it's got a dolphin, you do actually see dolphins. And it's amazing. You can do boat trips, you can walk around yourself. It's a coastal walk, but it's absolutely beautiful, and it's definitely one to do. And it's literally not that far to get there. If you go by public transport, on the train, it's about an hour or so, maybe even a bit less. But definitely just like a couple of places. There's plenty more that I could tell you to go and visit, but we'd be here for a lot longer than this. So to sort of kind of take you on to the different key stages of teaching. So you've got like your early years, so that's your nurseries, your reception years. And then you've got like your key stage 1, key stage 2 primary teacher. So like your year 1s up to year 6s. So kind of like just as they're going in and they're about age 4, and then just as they're about to go up to secondary school, they're, you know, about 10. And then obviously then when you get into your secondary teacher division, then you're going to be talking like age 11, depending on how long they stay then to do maybe their A levels, and they're in then until 18. So not really sure exactly what everybody's looking for, but it's just to sort of kind of give you an idea of, you know, the difference between, because I know that sometimes it's with primary, it can be classed as like teaching a little bit older, but it'd be classed more as secondary. So something we can obviously discuss on a bit more of a one-to-one, but it's just to give you a rough idea of kind of the ages. And then obviously, like I just went through now, with the teaching ones, you can also then get like a specialist or a leadership position within each kind of bracket. And that sort of kind of, you could be like, say, the head of maths within a certain division, even in sort of kind of like the nursery reception, head of literacy, sort of kind of anything like that. As like an additional or a leadership position within, which is always great again to obviously put on your resume of obviously, you know, coming over here teaching, and then obviously doing just that little bit extra within. But it's something that, again, we can go into a bit more detail of how it could be done and how it could be achieved while you're over here teaching. And then to sort of kind of go into like a little bit more detail, if you wanted to sort of kind of go into something a little bit more specific. So with regards to like support staff, you can actually go into like an SEN school, which is over here, they tend to split any behavioral SEN or specialist divisions. So with the SEN, it would be like, you know, special educational needs support. And then you've got your PRUs, which is obviously sort of kind of the more behavior, challenging behavior exclusion side of things. You have got your mainstream general classroom TA, and then the specialist TA is more classed as like a higher learning TA, so able to still teach the lessons and everything, but not quite there yet, with obviously doing more like the lesson plans and everything, teaching as a whole for the whole day. Cover supervisory work, which is the work's already done for you. You just obviously, depending on the subject, it could be anything. And then obviously we've got other ones that we help support within schools. So your admin, groundskeeper, and kind of like catering and stuff like that. Types of schools that we sort of kind of tend to work on at the moment in Wales, like I said, because they're all split off, we do work with a lot of pupil referral units, specialist units. In Wales, they get a lot of funding to help support children to go back into mainstream. And also as well, they have a lot of special educational needs schools. So again, that they're able to be sort of kind of divided into get the best sort of care that they need. And then there's the nurseries, the infants, and sort of kind of, we don't really work with a lot of private schools, so to speak. But we do work with obviously a lot of like sort of say community college schools, and sort of kind of just faith-based schools as well. So if that's something that you would be more interested in, and then we're classes like sort of kind of under the borough council schools anyway. So it would like branch off into kind of different divisions. Even if you are just in Cardiff, it would then branch off into other bits. So there's different options with regards to supply, depending on what it is that you're interested in. Because I know when a lot of people come over here, they like to just do day-to-day work, so they can sort of kind of gauge and see what different schools are like to get as much exposure as possible. Or there's kind of block cover. So block cover now can be anything from terms, which can range from kind of 6 to 8 weeks, or week to week, just again to be able to still be in one school for a little bit, but just to get some exposure, which is great. Usually if you're in more of kind of a block term, you'll be booked to kind of carry on over, because the school then sees what you're capable of, and also as well it gives you time to kind of settle in, get some exposure to the school, see if you like it. And obviously, when you kind of first move over here, before you start the QTS process, it's sort of kind of classed as an overseas trained teacher, which again is something we can help support with. And they start at like a certain rate, and then once you get your QTS, then it moves up to the next one. There is the option of, prior to you obviously getting here, of setting up something more kind of a long term, which then can go on to become a more permanent contract. So usually what happens is, with a lot of the schools here, you'll tend to do 3 terms, and then they sort of kind of decide whether or not, if it's, you know, if you're happy as well, to sometimes go on to a permanent contract, which is definitely something that we do more times, because it gives you a chance then to see. And then it's obviously then we're able to sort of kind of negotiate the best kind of rate for you, etc. And then just it's kind of like a smooth process into transferring over. Long-term supply. So again, similar to what I was saying, it's really handy for long term, because if you do a lot of block work, you've got chance then to be able to, you know, do the planning, get used to the curriculum, because it'll be very different over here. But it does also help you as well with your career development. So you're able to kind of like plan your lessons, implement your take on teaching techniques, which is what the schools like to see over here. They like to see the out of the box teaching that helps with engagement and communication, which is great. And obviously then with being there all the time, it's sort of like the consistency. It does then help with behavioral improvements, you building a relationship with the school, with the kids, getting settled, which is great. And a lot of the time then the school, they help you with your development within the school, with additional training, and anything that you need. And then also as well, for something more long term or permanent, we can then sort of kind of arrange interviews via, you know, Zoom or Teams or anything like that, prior to you coming, so you can get a better idea of what it is the school needs from you. With regards to finding somewhere to live, what we find has been most successful, the guys who have arrived have actually booked an Airbnb. They've then kind of been there for like 2-3 weeks, so then they've got a chance then to see what the public transport is like, to see how close things are, because as much as I could tell you, sometimes I think it's better to see from yourself, isn't it? So it's always better to do that. And then when you're here, then you'll be able to see then if anything is like fully furnished, if you need to add anything. But also as well, there's lots of sites via the UK which I can help anyways to send you like specific links for things to look at if you want to do like one bedrooms or flats, house shares, kind of anything like that, and then it'll help you then with getting a better idea.
Thanks. So as Shannon just went over there, especially when you're sort of looking to move and go to a new area, just make sure you do plenty of research. Make sure you sort of have an idea of what you want from sort of a shared property or a property for yourself. You may have to be flexible with that. So especially with city living, you may not always get sort of back garden, and if sort of an outdoor area and a back garden is something that you are really keen on, then that's obviously something that you may have to sort of push a little bit outside of the cities. Be flexible and always try and go for house viewings in person as well. Don't always just go off pictures, as I've just recently found out moving in Sydney. You rock up to some of these places and they don't look anything like what they're fantastically advertised with. So just always make sure you are going to see the places in person as well. So heading on to some sort of pay and relocation bonuses. Shannon touched on some of the pay rates there, and then we have sort of the main relocation bonuses from ourselves. So we have our ANZ UK Ambassador Program, which is a £250 relocation bonus. This is sort of tax-free and will go back towards your flights. It's a guaranteed work scheme as a sort of a supply support teacher. Once you've done your 60 days of work, that's in the contract in the UK, you then will be eligible for the relocation bonus. Whereas we then have a contract role bonus as well. So you've agreed to do a full-time school contract, a term or longer with ANZ UK before you set off to sort of Wales, and then on successful completion of 60 days again, you'll then get the relocation bonus of up to £500. So just sort of the first half of the sort of compliance requirements things. These are things that we can go into a lot of more detail with you during the process. We will need sort of a CV and a photo of yourselves just to be able to advertise to the schools. We'll be able to send these to them, so then they'll be able to see whether you're sort of a fit for the schools. Police checks. So in the UK, the Working with Children check equivalent is called a DBS, and this is £45. And you'll also require police checks to be done, where you've lived for 12 months or longer over the last 10 years. So if you've only ever lived in Australia within those 10 years, you just need to get your Australian police check. Whereas if you've hopped around a little bit, then you'll need to get the police checks for those countries as well.
So just to sort of kind of touch base on the compliance requirements from this end. So you'll be classed as an overseas trained teacher on arrival. And then obviously once you're here, then the compliance team, Alex, she will obviously contact you to help put it into process. And then obviously then you would have the qualified teacher status and conversion to the UK. But we do also have something else, which is called an EWC, which is an Education Workforce Council. When you first arrive, you would be classed as a learning support assistant, which would be an annual charge of £15. And then once you then go on to be able, and you've completely done the process for the QTS, then you can then go on to have it as teacher on the EWC. And then once prior to that, then you would just sort of kind of be classed as an instructor, still able to teach, still able to do everything while the process is going on, but just obviously to get it into process straight away. Prior to obviously you coming here, we'll need 2 professional references to cover the last 2 years of your employment history. So it would usually kind of have maybe like the last employment you were at, whether it be like teachers or head teachers, kind of anything like that. And then obviously anything after that, it would just be a case of just to see what else we would need of you. And usually you would be contacted from the Wales team sort of kind of 2 months, maybe a little bit earlier, sometimes depending, before you arrive in the UK. So with regards to getting around in Wales, super easy. Even wherever you live, there's always a Great Western Rail not that far, or there's obviously then the kind of the buses to be able to get around depending on where you are. Or if you are super active and you like to stay super healthy, you can obviously go by bike. But then sometimes what we find is when people arrive, they sort of kind of invest in a car due to wherever it is that they're staying or anything like that, to be able to get around just that little bit easier. And most of the time when you're looking for somewhere to live, there'll already be a parking space anyway, so it's just another option. So with regards to then setting up for your life in Wales, with regards to keeping money safe and you being able to have access to it, what we tend to say is like a Monzo or a Wise account has been the best to be able to have it, so you're still able to access your money while you're over here. And then what some people have done once they're here, they get more of a UK-based bank account, which then seems to obviously be an option as well, because sometimes Monzo can have the limitations when obviously living over here.
So community and events. So one of the things that we did mention at the start there is we always look to do big community event side of things. So these are pre-departure events within your hometown. So we'll look to try and do them in this sort of the big cities. So for example, if you're in New South Wales, we'll try and do them in Sydney, Brisbane, up in Queensland. If you're down in Victoria, we'll be doing them in Melbourne. And then once you are in your new location, when you land in Wales as well, they will then be able to send you another. Well, they'll be doing another event as well. So you'll be meeting teachers who are again people who've done the exact same move as yourself. Any questions at all? Yes, Mills.
Sorry, this one has been on my head the whole time. So I'm a casual teaching assistant, and etc. So what is a QT or QA or whatever that thing is?
The QTS?
Yes, QTS. I knew there was another thing missing from that.
No problem. Shannon, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. So the QTS is qualified teacher status. So obviously, if you're more classed as what's LSA, so a teaching assistant, what you said. So with that, you won't have to do the QTS. You would just have to do the Education Workforce Council, the EWC, and you would be put down then as the learning support assistant, and that would be then the £15 annually. But we do loads of placements, short-term, long-term block, for kind of LSAs. And if we do a meeting, which we can set up a meeting, we can go into a little bit more detail, and you can do more kind of like, specific questions, and I'd be able to help you with that.
I would love that. Yeah, thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, no problem.
And Kate, just to go through the question that you put through in the chat, you'll need to just supply the references again. As the UK compliance, it's different in how it is in Australia. Just so they'll just have to send their form, which is different to the one which was sent to the EL references in Australia. So it will be different.
Sorry, Meg. So if you if you have a grandparent or grandparents who were born in Australia, in the UK, Is that just your first grandparents, or is it great grandparents? Do they apply?
It's just grandparents. But
Damn it.
if you are able to apply for the youth mobility visa, we recommend that you apply for that sort of first, just because of the cost side of things.
Cool. No worries. All right. Thanks, mate.
No problem. Any other questions at all?
Just one for Shannon. Would you be able to contact me privately?
Yes, of course I can. What I can do is you'll be relatively on the system anyways, because you would have been sent an invite.
Yeah.
But to be able to contact you, and then we can set up a time. I'll contact
Yeah,
you
sweet.
directly.
How do I do that?
I'll contact you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All good. No worries.
Yeah, via email.
Yeah, sweet.
And then we can kind of go from there, and we can set up something to be a little bit more kind of like one-to-one.
Cool. Thanks, Shannon.
That's okay.
I have a question as well, if that's okay.
Yep, sure.
Yeah. So I already work with you guys in Melbourne. I was just wondering if like the app and everything kind of works the same way here as it would overseas as well.
I believe it does. Am I correct, Shannon?
It does. Yeah, it does. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's just obviously when you get to Wales and you transfer over to me as a consultant, you might just be re-invited to kind of log on again, because it'll have your details on there and all of the different compliance bits of once you've transferred over to me.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
That's okay.
I have a quick question. Just wondering if you work with the Outward Bound schools in the UK?
Have you got anything more kind of like specific? Because what I class as Outward Bound, it might be a bit different.
So I just heard that there was one in particular. I think it's not Wales. Mum, what was it called? Aberystwyth.
That is in Wales.
Aberystwyth, yeah. So with regards to something like that, it's not something that we work with right now. But if you were looking for something more long term, then I can obviously definitely contact the school to be able to set up something for you.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
No problem.
Anything from anyone else?
Oh, just a quick question. I know I'm coming in and out. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So I'm sort of like I'm going over November, December next year, because I'm doing like the whole school year here next year. So is it have you had educators who have come over from Australia who have worked in, say, south of London, south of the UK, and then moved over to Wales? Because that's sort of something I'm looking into. I'm not like, I want to start off in either Wales or the UK, but I'm not sure which way to go.
Yeah, so like we actually have 4 people starting in January, obviously because of how the academic year goes over there, and it's seamless. It's easy to get into, because sometimes there's different placements that they didn't know they needed until then, because the academic year starts here in September, and it, even then it's still easy to find you day-to-day, short-term, long-term, whatever it is that you need. Starting in January, because we sort of kind of go back the second week of January anyways, and most people kind of arrive, early December, depending on how long you need to settle in.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I just wanted to ask that because I've got this dream of living in the UK and then like also doing like a big stint of that in Wales as well. So
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's it's whatever you need, whatever, when you want to come, however you want us to support. It's, it's catered to you really for your teaching experience.
Okay, no problem. If you do have any more questions at all, we'll be able to send out our contact details as well. So if you do think of any questions as soon as you get off here, one pops into your head, is what normally happens. Just drop us a quick email. We can organise a call and go over everything with you. Okay. So as I said at the start, this is the global team, and so we're all situated in Australia or New Zealand, and so it'll be one of ourselves who will reach out and have that conversation with you. Okay, brilliant. Thank you ever so much for your time, everyone, this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and Shannon, enjoy the rest of your day. It's just the joys of time difference, and hopefully we all speak soon.